Lol. Welcome everyone to another video. My name is CatmasterOP, and today I want to quickly talk about the Blade Vortex build that I've been playing in a private league hosted by Scion, where we're only allowed to make ascendants and where there is no magic or rare gear drops. The way I'm going to do this is I want to try and go over each ability that I'm using, quickly explain why I'm using it, then go over my gem setups, which ability is linked with which support gem, and then go over my my gear and talk a little bit about the progress, right? Because normally my videos are fairly unstructured, fairly rambly, and despite this being a one-take unscripted, I just want to practice to get a little bit more of a great form into the video. You'd also massively help me out by subscribing to the channel and leaving a like if you appreciate the content, because YouTube recently made some changes that benefit large corporations over small content creators, and we really need all the support you can get. So go out there, support to your favorite small YouTube content creators. I'm sure they'll appreciate it a lot. So, this build, we're playing Blade Vortex. Blade Vortex is a skill that you might have seen me play when I originally started playing Path of Exile a lot. When I originally started streaming, that is, in 2014. Blade Vortex used to be my go-to skill, and Scion used to be my go-to ascendancy or go-to character class. Blade Vortex is a skill that winds up stacks of blades that then circle around your character, and they hit enemies that are nearby every so and so often. There's a base frequency, and the frequency goes up for how many stacks you have up of Blade Vortex. You can have up to 10 stacks, right? And it also gains critical strike chance for each blade that is up. Now, in the past, a lot of people told me I don't really like Blade Vortex, I have to keep up the stacks all the time, and that was sort of understandable, as you'd have to cast every stack manually. But nowadays you can use Unleash in order to get up to 4 stacks at once, because the way Unleash works, it makes supported spells gain a seal every so and so many seconds, up to a maximum of 3 seals, and then when you actually cast the ability, each seal is consumed for an additional cast. So you can cast it 4 times at once, it doesn't cost you a lot of time. Really, really simple. And we're using Blade Vortex as a main skill, while Blade Vortex on the same gem in the same setup as a single target reinforcement, because even though I build it quite tanky and, you know, try to make it as hardcore viable and as immune to mistakes as possible, in essence Blade Vortex is still a glass cannon build with which you're trying to jump packs, jump enemies, kill enemies before they kill you. So we're still using Lightning Spire Trap, which is a remnant from my Orbistorm's Wave of Conviction leveling, but it's still really good and it helps out with bosses that you don't want to stand next to. We're also using Smoke Mine as a mobility skill alongside Flame Dash, because the new Smoke Mine is pretty fast. You can throw out a mine and instantly detonate it, blink over, and you gain a movement speed buff, which is really, really cool. So I don't want to only have Flame Dash, I don't want to only have Smoke Mine, I kind of want to have 2 movement skills, and since they made Flame Dash instant, you don't need faster casting on it that badly anymore, especially if you're not looking to use it in sequence. Right. We're using Self-Cast Elemental Weakness just to make resistant enemies more vulnerable, and we're using Val Righteous Fire for the same reason, really, is like you just want to maximize your all-in damage when you have that tiny window where all your buffs are up and all your effects are up, and you want to use that to strike the enemies down. So for links with Blade Vortex, we're currently using Unleash because it's essential, right? We're using Physical to Lightning support because we need to convert to Elemental for better scaling. So we convert 50% to Lightning via this gem, 50% to Cold via these gloves. We got the Elemental Prolift support, which helps freeze packs. When you jump into a pack's Elemental Prolift will make it so that you don't only freeze single enemies, but you freeze the entire pack, because the ailments that you cause with Blade Vortex are spread to other enemies. And this really helps to shatter entire packs. Why that's important, I'll go into when I'm actually going to talk about Herald of Ice. And we're using Hypothermia just because we have a green socket, right? Life Leech, because same reason kind of, we had a red socket, but we were using added fire, and people pointed out to me that inspiration is really nice, so we're leveling an inspiration gem right now. Actually not anymore, it's somewhere else. And for the time being we're using Life Leech because I don't have any other source of leech, and it really helps with the survivability if you don't have only an instant flask to heal up, but you're actually regaining life constantly. Then we're using Lightning Spire Trap with Trap and Mine damage, advanced traps for trap cooldown recovery speed, and increased AoE for better overlaps. We're using Arcane Surge on Flame Dash and Elemental Weakness. And we're using some loose unlinked gems here. Herald of Thunder, Flesh and Stone, Precision. Some reservations, right? Flesh and Stone is really good because it blinds nearby enemies. I talk about this every video because I run Flesh and Stone on almost every build now in hardcore. Because it's just so good. It's like a permanent Stibnite flask around you. And we're using Herald of Ice in a 4-link with Onslaught, Ice Bite, and increased critical strike support. Cast when damage taking Steel Skin, staple setup just to improve my effective AHP in case of a burst. And we're using the Val Righteous Fire, currently unlinked. Later on maybe we're still doing some things with that, but this is mainly there for the buff because it grants 27% more spell damage. Right, I don't know whether you can see it, whether it's behind me, but it does grant more spell damage globally. Yeah. That's basically my skill gem setups. Quickly want to talk about Herald of Ice, because Herald of Ice is like other heralds a spell, but it has two components. It's a mana reservation, and it has a buff to your character, and it has a secondary effect. So the buff to your character in this case is flat cold damage to spells and attacks, and the secondary effect is that you shatter enemies, they explode and deal AoE cold damage to enemies near them. Now despite the fact that Herald of Ice is a spell, this does not deal spell damage because it's a secondary effect. So it's only cold AoE damage, and you can scale it with cold and AoE damage, but not with spell damage and not with spell crit. And Herald explosions do not have a base crit to begin with, right? So even if you get increased global critical strike chance, in theory it affects the Herald. In practice it doesn't increase the crit unless you add base crit, which is why we're linking increased critical strike support in order to give our Herald some base crit. On top of that, we're Assassin, Mini Assassin from the Ascendant tree, and we get another little bit of base crit. So totally unbuffed, our Herald of Ice is at about 10% crit chance, a little bit less actually, because I don't have precision up when I'm not in my hideout, right? Nice one. Let's go into the menagerie, say hi to Einar. So, as you can see, we cast Blade Vortex a couple of times, got 10 stacks, right? We gain seals, we press once, we gain 4 more stacks, and so on. So you just really run around and you press it every once in a while. And I beastcrafted the gull, pretty lucky. Beastcrafted the 6-link as well. We were using a scuffed 6-link before. Funnily enough, on the first character, which was Stormbrand and died in Blood Aqueducts due to a very, very unlucky blue pack that decided to burst me down. On the first character in Act 7, we actually found a box that contained mirrored items, and we actually managed to get not only a 6-link, but also the mirrored copy of the 6-link. So we were kind of already using a 6-link from early on the first character, then we died with the original 6-link, then we used the mirrored copy. I was very happy when I beastcrafted this, and was even happier when I got the 4 off-colors on it, which was not likely going to happen, but we did it. And yeah, the gull is really great because it creates these little shrines that buff you. Very recommendable. Look up the gull. It's probably one of the better helmets for speedy leveling. Especially, I think you can use this already from level 36, right? And we're using 3-step Assault. They give you spell dodge while phasing. We're getting phasing from the Freedom of Movement Anoint. Previously we had Diamond Skin Anointed, but then when I was able to balance my resists and get them weakness cap without it, right, I decided to, you know, fuck that anoint and get this one. So we were able to get phasing on kill from this and a little bit move speed, a little bit dodge, a little bit evasion. And it's really cheap for 1 violet, 1 clear and 1 sepia. And we were able to give up my phasing flask, which I was using before Wise Oak. Now Wise Oak gives you a buff based on which enemy, which elemental resistance is lowest and which is the highest. But since we managed to balance all 3 of them and they're all the same, we actually get 10% reduced damage taken off each element and 15% penetration for each element during this flask effect. So it's a really, really value flask. And I'm kind of hesitant to switch my gear now because obviously we'd have to rebalance again. And I'm kind of happy with the gear situation right now. We're probably going to level to level 95 before we change anything about the build because we got 2% positive chaos resist. We're weakness capped for yellow maps. And we're overall pretty happy with the state of the build. Yeah, well, the weapons could be better. The weapons are garbage. Don't look at my weapons. I still want to quickly talk about Intuitive Leap, which I purchased for my first tabula. I didn't need my tabula because, you know, we got the 6th link luckily already. And so we're able to purchase an Intuitive Leap, which I think is exceptionally good in this spot because we can pick up the power charge, we can pick up spell block and mana, we can pick up some damage, some more block while dual wielding here, and blast radius, all for a fairly low point investment without rooting around and picking up all the little nodes leading up to the big ones. So I think pretty good spot for Intuitive Leap here. This is sadly not in there. If you were using a staff, Enigmatic Defense is also nice, but then the nodes leading up to that are also pretty cool. I was also thinking about getting this for the 2% spell block, but yeah. The path of building is going to be in the description down below. If you're looking to make a similar build in Trade League, I would like to recommend Somad's BV Assassin, which is an excellent build, one of the best builds that I've seen content creators make this league. Very feels good man, Blade Vortex and so on. And yeah, if you like this content, leave a like, leave a subscribe, come check out my channel at twitch.tv/CatmasterOP, where today we have the Song Request Shitfest, so song requests are open to everyone. It will be wonderful. Thank you guys so much for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully when I bought a capture card and we don't get frame drops anymore. Bye bye.